evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order the special call meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Education. We have all members assembled, and we'll proceed with the agenda at hand. So at this time, we'll receive nominations for the president of the office of the Montgomery County Board of Education.
I'd like to nominate
Brenda Doremus Coleman.
I second.
We're fine with that.
Any other nominations?
Didn't know it was gonna be that loud, buddy.
Being there are no other nominations, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All members affirming Dr. Brenda Doremus Coleman as president, please signify by the aye or by the show of hands. Those opposed? We have a unanimous 7-0 vote. Congratulations, Dr. Coleman. And I am more than happy to give this to you.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and as an individual, say all praises to God from whom all blessings flow.
Amen.
I thank you, my colleagues, fellow board members, for the confidence that you have placed in me. And I thank the public for the confidence that they have placed in each of us. There are 7 very capable leaders sitting at this table. And I am honored that you have the confidence in me and that you trust me to help guide us as we move our students and our community forward. Thank you. And I think the next thing on the agenda would be the election of a vice president. Are there nominations for vice president?
I nominate Erica Watkins Smith.
We have the name of Erica Watkins Smith. Are there other nominations?
Yes. I nominate Cassandra Brown.
We have the name of Cassandra Brown. Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Nominations are closed on the names of Erica Watkins Smith and Cassandra Brown. At this time, we will vote. All in favor of Erica Watkins Smith, raise your hands. All those in favor of Cassandra Brown, raise your hands. Thank you. Members of the board, you have elected Cassandra Brown as your vice chair. And I think this is a good time to reiterate that we will follow the Montgomery County Board of Education bylaws, which will be governed by Robert's Rules of Order as its parliamentary authority. And there being no further business listed on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned. At this time, we will move into our work session. calling the work session to order. There are 7 members present, which establishes our quorum. At this time, we will take a motion to approve our agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda of our work session.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda for the work session. All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed? You have approved the agenda. At this time, we will receive as information several items, the first of which is a special presentation by Ms. J. Jones, the Montgomery County Helen Keller Art Show.
Good evening, Madam President. Congratulations. Board members, nice to see you all. Welcome to our new members. Tonight we have a special presentation. I won't do it any justice, so I'm going to turn it over to my great colleague, Ms. Katrina Jackson, who's going to share some wonderful, wonderful items with you all tonight. I can't wait for you all to see. So, Ms. Jackson.
Good evening, I'm Rachel Krause. I'm the teacher for the visually impaired for Montgomery County. And this is Gina Ward, our Braille specialist. And we have been working on a great project with our visually impaired kids throughout the county. So we'll start with Genesis Gilbert. She's a 2nd grader at Morning View Elementary, and she chose to paint a unicorn. And Gina's going to tell you a little about
She completed a directed drawing of a magical unicorn and painted it with fun, vibrant colors with a touch of sequins and, of course, glitter, which is a must for a unicorn.
And next we have Malia Harris, and she chose to do a dandelion because she loves flowers.
Miss Malia created a painting with an array of dandelions in bright colors floating through the sky, spreading wishes for everyone.
Okay, next we have Colby Smith, if you'll go to the front, Colby. And he chose to create an outer space scene. He's a 4th grader at Delrata Elementary.
Colby created his own outer space, complete with a 3D shooting star, a 3D planet that also doubles as a stress ball, and lots of other stars to wish upon.
Oh.
Okay, next we have Terrell Wright, a 5th grader at T. Morris Elementary, and he chose to create a monster truck.
Mr. Terrell painted a monster truck complete with red flames, then added glittery fireworks against a patriotic night sky. Of course, no monster truck is complete without its own dirt road riding through the woods.
Next, we have Erin Nettles, a sixth grader at Johnny Carr, and she loves flowers, so she chose to create this piece.
Okay, Erin painted a pink dogwood blossom 3D artwork out of model magic and tactile tree branches that she made with plaster of Paris. The end results just spring off the canvas.
Okay, we have Sydney Goldsby next. She is in the 9th grade at Park Crossings High School, and she created an angel.
Miss Sydney painted her very own angel using several techniques for this celestial being. These magnificent wings fly over the canvas by using a textured knife technique, sprinkled with iridescent glitter, touches of gold, and topped off with a textured hot glue halo of gold upon her head.
Now we have Gabby Graham. She is a 3rd grader at Halcyon Elementary, and she chose to do a self-portrait.
For Gabby's self-portrait, we thought it would be fun to add tactile elements such as real glasses, buttons, marbles, and hair with bows on it.
Ms. Jackson, would you like for all of them to come up front to have a picture with Dr. Brown and then the board members? Do you all mind if you'll gather right here in the front? And go. You kind of step back a little bit. Yes. Oh, we have one more student. One more student. Come on.
Madison Taylor from Brubaker Intermediate.
For Madison's artwork, we gave her a tactile tree of life from hot glue in which she could feel it to paint it. These roots are firmly planted in a meadow of finger-painted spring flowers, and then she added multicolored flat marbles as leaves to top it off.
Mrs. Jackson will go ahead and coordinate your first round of photos. Ladies and gentlemen, as they're coming up to the front to take their photos, let's give them a round of applause for this beautiful artwork. We love, love, love when our students join us here at board meetings, and this is just wonderful. And we also like to thank the parents for bringing the students out tonight. Thank you all so much. So let's give the parents a round of applause as well. Big smiles, everyone. And if we have any parents that want to join real quickly, if we have any parents, 1, 2, 3, while we're standing good, real quickly. I know how it goes. I'm a mom of 3, so hurry up, parents. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, parents. Beautiful, beautiful photo. Welcome, everyone. Get in there, Dad. Get in. Dad's a little shy. Alrighty, 1, 2, 3. Let's say NPS. 1, 2, 3. NPS. All right. All right. Mrs. Jackson, is that it? Is that it, ladies? Do we need another photo? Okay. One more photo real quickly, Madam President, if that's fine. Warm-up photo. I think it's an intimate group. As you're sitting down, intimate group. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, dear. Thank you, Mom. Thank you all. Yeah, give this guy Johnson here. He's gonna take photos. Yeah.
They have a mind of their own, seriously. So be careful.
Great job.
Madam President, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones, and thank you so much to the Helen Keller Art Show for this marvelous presentation, beautiful artwork. I don't know if you heard, several people up here are ready to purchase some of those pieces, so make sure you let us know what's available and what the costs are.
We're going to have a huge art show in the spring with the rest of the students, and we'll let you know the details for that as well as the
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you again. At this time, we will move to the Volkert update. Mr. Glenn Slater.
Let me see. It may be et cetera. That is Tylenol. Yep. I wish I had another one. It's sweet, sweet. He stopped. It would be peppermint sweet if it had anything.
Is Mr. Slater here?
Good afternoon, Madam President, board members, Dr. Brown, thank you for having me. I'm Glenn Slater with Volkert. I'm here for your December update for the capital improvement program. I believe there should be some slides.
We have them.
You have them?
We do have them.
We have them.
Well, I've got them on paper, and I'll just talk through them from there. The first slide should be an aerial of the McMillan McKee campus. Is that on your viewers?
Yes.
Okay. Where McInnes Road is running on the left-hand side there, the location for the new gymnasium will be kind of toward the center, almost where the punch pen is. On there, the yellow punch pen by the parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The next slide is the basic, excuse me, the basic program that's going on at the gymnasium. We'll have an enclosed connector from the school into the new building. We'll have 300 retractable seating, 150 on each side. 6 basketball goals that will also be retractable. A volleyball court, markings for foursquare, and a lobby area with restrooms and an entry that would be close to that parking lot that's in the front of the building. Okay, on the next slide is the floor plan of the gymnasium. Over to the bottom left, there you'll see a little hallway that connects to the existing school. As you come in, and then you'll enter into the gymnasium there, and there's a stage area to the right, almost to the center, I'm sorry. The gymnasium courts that you can see there, then the lobby area coming down toward the bottom left. Okay. Any questions there? Okay. Next slide, please. This is the rendering of the building, and you'll notice that it's got the resembles or matches very well with the existing building. The front entry of it there matches exactly with the 2 entries that are going into the main school. We've got the next slide will show the short-term schedule for that project. We'll be submitting to the DCM before the end of the year. Plan to advertise in January and bid it out probably mid-February. Our short-term look ahead for the entire program, of course, is to continue design on the rest of the schools that we've got under design right now. Finalize the site acquisition for the new high school. Continue with the surveys, and continue to generate bidder interest to get the contractors interested in bidding this jobs. Our next couple of slides there are for the minority participation. They should look very familiar, as there was very little change in the amount of purchase orders issued last month for the professional services. We've got currently, there's $21,126,000 under professional services. Of that, $10,834,000 of it is going for minority participation, which is 51%. That concludes this month's update. Is there any questions?
Are there questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Next, we have the facilities update. Mr. Anderson.
Good evening, Dr. Brown, Madam President, members of the board. If you'll go through me with your spreadsheet with me, going down the list. The central office consolidation is still on track and still tracking a little bit ahead of schedule going there. We have seen, again, like BTW, we're seeing delays in glass and some different items, and then the BDA system that I've detailed out in your weekly updates. Just that is something that's really kind of holding up a lot of projects, and that came in July and is really something that's picking up, and it will pick up on all of these projects here as well. But is tracking very well, and you have the progress photos as well. The BTW red light, we're working on the pre-construction meeting for that. That'll happen sometime in the first of the year, and get that underway as well as quickly as we can. The BTW construction update, again, as detailed in your weekly update, the contractors are asking for an extension due to unforeseen circumstances with supplies mainly being glass. Glass is holding up some of the inside finish work, but I think you see from the photos that you've seen, and if you've driven by there, there's been a tremendous amount of progress made. Just going in again this past week. Haven't been in there this week. We meet tomorrow, but there a lot of the cabinetry is going in into the performing arts area and working on those things, and they're calling for an above ceiling inspection. We do have part of the BDA in that will go above the ceiling, but that's in, so we're going to be calling for a above ceiling inspection sometime early January, which will allow us to kind of progress on from there, fire up those HVACs and do the testing that we need to do on that. But that could not be done until the BDA system, that the wiring portion of that is installed. The Goodwin HVAC project, saw the engineers yesterday that are working on that for us. That is still tracking for February. Spoke to the principal too and let her know we'd be out in January. We've been working with her along the way through the summer and all, just to kind of get a game plan for that, because it will put a hindrance on daily operation. It's not going to be the smoothest, but when you're trying to replace an entire HVAC system, windows and all, there's going to be some pain in that progress, but she's been great to work with, and we'll continue to help her. And they'll try to do as much of the bulk of it as they can during the summer months, which again, we've met on that to make sure we don't have a summer program at Goodwin or Brewtech where we're doing these summer projects, to try to get as much done as we can during that time and have as little pain as we can during the regular school year. The Brewtech HVAC is again moving into phase 2 and moving well and moving as quickly as we can. That school is not nearly at capacity, so we're able to kind of shuffle the deck around. The administration's been really good to work with there and helping us work those details out so we can move kids out of certain areas and complete the work along the way in those phases. And it moves along very well. Logistics, the roof and renovation that's going on there, a lot of work on the inside. You know, some things unforeseen with some of the truss work that they're having to shore up in there, just being an older building, being different things that go on as far as the forklifts and all that go in there. So we had some extra work in that part of it. The build out is going well to get rid of the portable that's sitting outside the building. And we should be, the pre-roof is already, construction meetings already happened. We should be getting roofing materials. Some arrived last week and hopefully can start on that first part of the year, getting that roof system in place. And then as you see, we have several roofs for your approval tonight, with the McKee roof, the McKee complex, MLK roof, Fitzpatrick roof, Vaughn Road, Wares Ferry, and the maintenance shop. All of those were designed, went through DCM and the bid process, and that's what you have before you tonight with that. The J.D. Danley roof replacement, we are seeing a little bit of delay on the Danley side because there's a certain anchor that's a certain length that they can't get their hands on, so it's kind of held up that side of it to get us onto the J.D. side on it. But hopefully we'll have that shortly after the first of the year. They don't lack very much on the Danley side, and then we'll get onto that J.D. side, which is, you know, is a very, very large roof. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do we know an estimated time of BTW?
What they gave us and what we detailed out with in the weekly update was parts of it should finish late January into February and possibly even into March, but they can't give us an exact time because the glass suppliers have not given them a date, and they can't give them a date. They've asked 3 or 4 different suppliers to see if we could speed that up, and all of them are they're all in the same boat with not being able to get their glass. A little bit of it arrived the other day. I stopped by there. They had some of the metal framework, but that's been our biggest holdup is the glass. But I've been speaking with Dr. Starks. The different dates have to correspond with the different buildings. So we're hoping to have the Magnet Arts and the Black Box towards the end of January, 1st of February, and cafeteria following shortly after there in February, and then the gymnasium hopefully by March.
So
So are we gonna be in the school? before the-
We're
before
playing the
end
waiting
of
games.
school?
I would guess more than likely, we're gonna end up moving at it'll be moving at the beginning of the school year, and they'd be ready to move in. Anything before then will be,
A blessing.
yes,
Yes.
good work.
And Dr. Starks has been great along the way, and you know, it's like she said, we've waited this long, we want it to be
Just want
right.
it right,
We don't wanna
yeah.
rush the process.
Right.
And, she's actually gonna come out to the OAC meeting with me tomorrow and visit that site and get to see the progress we've made since the last visit we made. It is, you wouldn't believe the progress they've made. It's really coming along.
Yeah, I don't wanna rush it. I don't
Yes,
wanna
ma'am.
mess anything up. I was just curious as to
Yes,
timing.
ma'am. Yeah, it is, and the architects felt really good delaying it because there's gonna be a big punch list with a building that big, and we don't wanna rush that punch list. We wanna make sure those contractors take their time and do it right and work all the kinks out.
But it's not costing us any more money,
No,
right?
ma'am, no, ma'am.
Are there other questions regarding the facilities update for Mr. Anderson? Mr. Anderson, are you going to talk more about the contracts, or did you, were you covering that?
Yes, ma'am, that's what I
when
was
you talked
covering in the
about it?
update. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that took care of item D. So now we will move to item E, the October financial statement for 2022. Ms. Pamela Watkins.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Coleman, Board Superintendent Dr. Brown. You should have before you the, and I'm sorry, other board members as well. You should have before you the financials for the month of October. The financials include an explanation of the financial data, which provides a state of the financial condition of the district. That statement's written by our CSFO. We also have a snapshot analysis, which is a general overview of the financial activity of the month being presented, which is October. You should also have the monthly budget percentages, which provides a percentage measurement as it relates to revenues and expenditures for the month reported. So, for example, this is the first month of the fiscal year. Expenditures should be at approximately 8.33%. You should also have a monthly comparative statement of revenues and expenditures that provides a monthly and annual comparison of budget to actual for the current period as well as the prior year period. Also included in your package is a statement of cash flow that provides the revenues received and expenditures paid for the current period that's being reported, which is October, as well as the year-to-date inflows and cash outflows as well. Also, there is a pie chart in Section 6, which provides you with a visual of those cash inflows and outflows mentioned in the statement of cash flows. And then finally, there are, in Section 7, there are the F exhibit. Those are reports that are generated from the information of our data that's uploaded to the State Department, and it provides a district-wide balance sheet as well as income and expenditures. If you turn to Section 2 of your financial package, Section 2 is our snapshot analysis. It represents, again, we're talking about the first month of the new fiscal year 2023. On this, you will see a summary of our revenues for the month of October. Revenues are at $17.6 million. You also see our expenditures for the month of October. Our expenditures are at $18.2 million. And then our ending fund balance for the month of October is $83.6 million. You'll also see, I'm going to go back a little bit, you'll see that our beginning fund balance for the fiscal year was $84.2 million compared to what we budgeted at $72.5. But remember, we also have in that $84 million a reserve for capital improvements and a reserve for technology, as well as a reserve for remaining expenditures on the new building. Also on this snapshot analysis is a comparison of our local revenues compared to last year. We also summarize our total expenditures for our total payroll expenditures for October of 2022 compared to October of 21 last year fiscal year. And then you will also see our general fund balance analysis, which shows our fund balance in October of 2021 compared to our fund balance currently in October of 2022. Our required 1 month fund balance is $20,294,178, so we have a little bit over a 4 month reserve, 4 month fund balance at this time. Madam President.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are there questions of Ms. Watkins?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. The next report is Imagine Learning, LLC. Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, Madam President, Board Members, Superintendent Brown. Present and receive as information for the approval of Imagine Learning, formerly Edgenuity. It is a returning, renewing contract, and ELSA funds will be utilized to purchase it. Madam President.
Okay. Mr. Mitchell, are there questions for Mr. Mitchell?
Yes. Imagine Learning is Edgenuity,
Yes, ma'am, it is.
and how long have we had Edgenuity?
Anywhere from 3 to 4 years. And we've had different aspects of it. I know we have credit recovery, grade recovery, CTE licenses, different things of that nature in relationship to Imagine Learning.
Have you done a turnaround and see how effective it is?
We have. As a matter of fact, we're going to do a curriculum review that's going to really look at it in detail. We're asking for a 1 year as we evaluate to see whether we will continue with all products moving forward.
So you will be looking at what the data shows?
We will. We believe that the analysis was better 2 years before the pandemic. Last year, we were not able to be face-to-face with some of the conversations, so it was not the type of validity that we wanted, but we do want to continue to analyze and see where we are with the programs.
And you can get in touch with IT to see exactly how much time, real-time students are.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the concerns we have is that sometimes time on task and analysis of data sometimes does not show true alignment. So sometimes that may be a negative correlation that exists there.
It's still something to look
Without
at.
doubt.
Thank you.
Exactly. Okay.
Are there other questions?
Yes.
Ms. Keys?
Bernard, on that, it sounds like I'm getting on to you, but I've asked you 3 times for the data. And this is a $1 million contract with Edgenuity. We have 14 failing schools. And I know me, you know, it may be a 6-1, I'm used to that. But I'm not gonna vote for Edgenuity until I see any data myself. I just wanna see the data, because the funds that we're putting out there for these schools, we keep going. We had 11 schools, now it's 14 schools. So you have to ask, is it working? If it's not working, we've got to find something that's going to work. And I'm going to ask you now, when am I going to get that data?
Okay.
Do you have a date?
We have, in Edgenuity in particular, we can give you that data as well. In some of the board reports, we've shared some data there.
Okay.
I know that Edgenuity, we are not really starting to work with that program again until really right now. We had some programs already, but it had not been board approved for this year.
Okay.
So it'll be historical data, but we can still get you that.
Okay. Also, on the credit recovery, we are doing the minimum of, you know, what is the minimum that they have to have to even get into that? Isn't it like a 40?
It's a 40, and the state requires that at least a 40 is a threshold that you must have in order to get into credit recovery.
Can we get the data per school of who all's involved, how many people are involved in the credit recovery and the Edgenuity?
We can, yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
I'd just like to see the data as to the progression from year to year. I know COVID's gonna be low, but I would think there'd be something on that. And also the summer, you know, your summer program, I'd just like to see the data on the results on that.
One of the things that I would share as well, we've had great results with credit recovery in the summer with Edgenuity.
Okay.
Could be that we're pushing students through as well. We want to make sure we analyze that effectively, and we'll share that as well.
Okay, good. Sounds
Because-
good.
Well, Mr. Mitchell, thank you, because as she stated, yes, we've looked for this for quite a while. The comprehensive data is going to help us as we work to move forward. We are so excited about the informations that you've been able to provide, the weekly connections. You have given us some more detailed information that's been very valuable. So we do thank you for what you've done, but we do look forward to that comprehensive data. And I hear another question.
Because this contract goes into effect tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
It'd be hard to vote for it if we don't have the data, so I'm thinking maybe we should table it.
Well, in terms of services kids, if that's interrupted, that would interrupt service to those kids. So that would be a hindrance to actually providing instruction in classrooms. That's something we need to keep in mind.
And we've had it how many years?
We had it 4, I think 4, I'm doing it off my memory, you know, 3 to, I would say 4 years.
Can we talk about that and maybe let, because the thing is, I wanna see improvement, and if there's not improvement, to spend $1 million for another year, you can save money by closing schools, but if you're throwing away money where we're not improving, I have a problem with that.
That's $1.5 million.
I'd ask for a little indulgence as we're doing a curriculum audit in February, that we're informed on every piece of information that we're using and every data source that we're getting information from. My concern is disruption to instruction for kids.
And my only thing, Dr. Brown, is I think it was a renewal for a year. What about a renewal for 6 months or something like that?
The year would conclude in June, correct?
Yes, exactly.
If I hadn't asked for the data 3 times, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are there other questions of Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Mitchell, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next report is Curriculum Associates, Ms. Jamie Wilson.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Brown, I'd like to present to you 2 items based on professional development for our leaders. The first one is with Curriculum Associates. In the fall, we entered into a contract for our progress monitoring of our middle level, 6th through 8th grade, with Curriculum Associates, known as iReady. iReady is offering a principal academy for our leaders to support them in instructional gains, to help them identify school-wide priorities for math and reading, to look at the proficiencies, and really to decide corrective actions, what's happening, what's going on in our data, and to really get instructional support through the iReady program through our first year of implementation. The goal is for sustainability, so that our principals who are going through the Principal Academy with Curriculum and Associates can also train our other administrators who also use the program.
Okay, thank you. We do know the value of professional development, and especially with our leadership. Are there questions of Ms. Jamie Wilson?
Yes, I have a question, please.
Mhm.
This is strictly online, or is they gonna actually be in person?
The training, it offers both. So you also get a cohort of other principals in Principal Academy with Curriculum and Associates throughout the country, and they will be like online to do the cohorts and to talk about their data. But there will be a hybrid of one-on-one support, both virtually and in person.
Well, this says from in-person to virtual if we cannot reach a session site by car. That's
Right, it's a hybrid, so it would be both virtual and in person.
They can reach us by car, if that's the question.
okay. Well, I mean, I think in person is so much more
Sure.
important because then you
I
get
agree.
automatic feedback, and we know through Zoom that it's not always the most effective. And since we're training the trainers and we're looking at principals growing and being who they need to be in the schools with our at-risk children, and so thank you.
Okay, are there other questions regarding Curriculum Associates? If there are no further questions, Ms. Wilson?
Sure. The second one is with Ed Connective. Ed Connective is also a leadership professional development. And so what we're really working on, looking at our leadership capacity, we want to grow our leaders. This partnership is unique because we have three different types of workshops for our leaders. The first one is with our principals. We're working on growing visionary leaders, instructional leaders, looking at changing the culture in buildings, building collaborative environment, and really looking at shared leadership, as we know they're tasked with many items. This professional development provides workshops for principals, principal coaching based on their needs, and then feedback. It's a cyclical process. The second part of that is that we are working on developing our assistant principals. And so we will have workshops tailored to our assistant principals. We've worked hard with our principals in identifying areas where we want to grow them as leaders, so that would be the second piece. The third piece is our aspiring leaders. We also know that we have strong teacher leaders, and we're looking to grow our own and develop our own leadership within MPS. And so they are also provided opportunities for workshops based on their individual needs, but really looking at, do they understand what a leadership requires? Do they know what principals do every day? And that way they're ready to move up in the ranks and also be better teacher leaders.
And again, is this virtual or is this in person?
This opportunity is virtual.
Are there other questions?
Are we shoring that up with in-person?
We do that on a regular basis, yes. That would be, we'd get support for that in person by our folks.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Dr. Brown, Hanover Research.
Thank you so much. As you know, we intend to formulate a brand new strategic plan, preferably by the beginning of the fall, sometime in that time frame. That work starts now as we begin to engage our community in terms of focus groups, surveys, as much input as we can get from our community. As that process begins, Hanover Research will start that process. I firmly believe that to have an effective strategic plan, it must be owned by everyone. So I would simply be one person that's involved in the planning along with the rest of us in terms of writing that strategic plan. Hanover will facilitate the conversations, schedule meetings, set up group talks and those types of things, and we'll actually end up giving us the end product at the end of the strategic plan process to produce that document, which will be our guiding force for the next 5 to 10 years. Excited about that work, can't wait to get it started, and anxious to see who we want to be as a school community in terms of the types of things we want to do. What we foresee happening in that regard will be 4 to 5 different areas that we would focus on, and in each committee would formulate what those might be. And then subcommittees for each of those areas would be created to come up with the goals, action steps, and objectives associated with each of those goals. So I'm looking forward to that product being done. This should be something that everything will tie to and align to. And when we talk about ideas or projects or contracts or whatever, they should align with our strategic plan, and that should drive the work that we're trying to do as a district. Hanover will help us put that all together.
And that's not something that can be done with central office personnel and
Not effectively, no.
Ms. Brown.
Yvonne, I just have a question. This would replace our current strategic plan? I'm sorry. Would this replace our current?
Yes, that
strategic
expires
plan?
at the end of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. The next report comes from Dr. Kathleen Williamson, Helping Montgomery Families Initiative, our Memorandum of Understanding.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Brown, board members. We are continuing our partnership with Helping Montgomery Families. It is a partnership directly with the District Attorney's Office. It is sponsored in part by Montgomery Public Schools, the county, and the city. We're very excited that the new director, Ms. Beasley, is here with us tonight. So we're looking forward to growing that partnership in new ways. She and I have already been meeting and talking about how the work has looked historically, as well as where we can go now that all of us are back in place and she has grown her staff. Our part in this partnership is $75,000.
That went down.
No.
No,
No, I thought it was 100.
at one point, but it's been 75 for this will make year 3.
Oh, good.
I've got
That's good.
125,000. The 50,000 for the,
Not from MPS.
No, it's total.
Monies are put in by 3 different entities. MPS had 100,000.
But the 75 is good.
Yes, ma'am. This will be year 3 of 75.
And now it's down from
That's good.
then,
That's
yes.
good.
oh, and by the way, since this is a contract on page 5, you got, requires schools to generate through iNow. That should be Power Schools.
Okay, I'll work with Ms. Beasley. The contract comes from their office, but we'll work on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williamson. Are there other questions of Dr. Williamson? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Kim Gillis, who will discuss tuition assistance program.
Madam Chair, Dr. Brown, and other board members. In your packet, you should have the tuition assistance agreement. And I'm just going to go over the highlights of this. I'm not going to read the entire thing to you. But the purpose of this is really twofold. Part of it is to help us to retain teachers that we actually get certified with their professional certificate. We know historically we get them certified, they get their professional certificate, and then they leave soon afterwards. So what we're hoping that this will do is, because part of the agreement is that they have to, after we make the final payment, they have to stay with us 3 years. And then we know after the 3rd year, if they stay with us the 4th year, they become tenured in the district. So we think that's an incentive to do so. If you look at the agreement, it says that it's for teachers who are on a provisional or a conditional approach. And if you look under the recitals, it gives you an idea of what those different certificate programs are. In one of your packets, your updates, I gave you all of the different certificate options, and if you need some more clarification, I'll be happy to send that back out, especially to our new board members. The goal is to get
Will you tell us the specific programs?
Yes, okay, so for this agreement, it would be only for provisional and for conditional. The conditional certificate is the one where you have the teachers for tomorrow. And in that program, they have to do 4 modules. The modules are like $750 a piece. And of course, you still have to pass the praxis and all of that. For the provisional approach, they actually have to go to one of the Alabama colleges or universities, and they get to choose that based on the program that they're in.
And we pay for that.
Well, that's what I'm asking you all to do, is to approve for us to pay for, it will pay for their tuition, it will pay for their books, and they should be able to get their professional certificate in about 2 years if we do that. And we're going to use ESSER funds to do that. We were awarded $241,220. That will pay for about 50 teachers, but depends on the program and how that works itself out. Currently, right now, we have 8 teachers who are currently on a provisional, and we have 10 teachers who are on a conditional certification, but it's pretty expensive. We think that we can get more teachers transferred over to one of those approaches because we will pay for that if this is approved tonight.
So do they have to be a provisional, do you have to just have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree?
Bachelor's.
Bachelor's, so you can get your bachelor's in anything, and then you come on with us.
Well, no, based on the program that you're in, for Teachers of Tomorrow, you're gonna go through those 4 modules. You already have a current degree. These are people who have degrees, just maybe not in education.
Right.
Okay? So for the Teachers of Tomorrow, they go through those 4 modules, and they're not on anything. It's specifically on education, teaching them the things that they need to do. And as you read this, it gives you a lot more details on that. And I tried to put those in the contract so that when teachers sign this, they know exactly what they have to do. We also have some companion pieces that we will be giving to teachers as well. And if you'd like to see the companion piece of all of the different approaches and what you have to do, I have a copy of that on my desk, and I'll be happy to give you that in the packet as well so you can see that. We want to make sure that the teachers are very informed so there can't be any question about what they need to do. Now, based on some of these teachers will end up with master's degrees.
Okay, the cap on this is 50.
Well, it just depends on which approach and how many choose the different approaches.
But
I
this
just
is
can't go
across-
over.
This is across elementary, middle, and high school.
Right. I just can't go over $241,220. And what our plan is, because most of our schools are Title I schools, and we really want to target those schools that are hard to staff first, because we need to put the emphasis on those schools first to make sure we staff those schools appropriately first. So if we have a large number of people, we're going to base it on the needs of the district, those hard to staff areas, and those hard to staff schools.
Would this be for special needs too?
Well, there's a separate certification that the state offers, but that is not a provisional or conditional
So this
approach.
is general ed?
Yeah, pretty much. And most of these will probably be in the areas of, in grades 6 through 12.
Is it just for, and is it for specific subjects for your secondary ed?
It's for core content areas.
Just all core, okay.
Right? And if you continue to look at the agreement, it spells out, and the teachers have to actually initial by each one of these. And the reason that we wanted to make this so detailed is so that we are clear, because if they don't complete, and if they don't have the grade of C or higher, then we can drop them from the program, because we don't want to pay for D's or F's, because that's not going to get us to the end result. And if they don't stay with the district, then they owe this money back to us, which can then be used for other folks that we need to employ.
For another cohort.
Right.
May I ask, how long do they have to complete this program?
Most of them take about 2 years to do so.
But they have 3 years.
Yes.
To work with it.
But most of them,
And
and
if
many
they
of
don't,
them,
then they owe it back.
well, if they don't stay with us, now, they can be non-renewed for lack of performance or anything else. None of that goes out of the window. None of that. So if they're working hard, if they're doing the things that they're supposed to do, of course, we will continue with this
But if
until
they're
the money runs out.
non-renewed, are we paying them?
No, if they're
What they-
non-renewed,
What I'm saying, if they're non-renewed,
Uh-huh.
do they have to pay back what they
No.
did up through here? Okay.
no, they do not, because that's our choice to non-renew, not their
Okay.
choice to.
Okay.
But our goal is not to non-renew.
I got you.
Our goal is to grow our teachers so that we have a stable workforce, and so that we do not have the turnover in schools that we've had before. That's the goal.
And we do put great emphasis on formative assistance in order to maintain and,
Absolutely.
like you said, grow the workforce. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Are there any questions regarding the contracts?
I
And
have
I'm-
one more. As they work, and I know they'll be in school and they'll be working also, are
Right.
they mentored in any way to help them out on this side, other than their
Yes.
studies? Okay.
They are. And I will say this, we did have, of course, our own in-house person to look at this contract to make sure that it was solid, but we also had our attorneys to look at it as well, and to compare it with other districts who may be doing something similar. What we've noticed is not a lot of them are going to this length, and some of them even going even further. But we think because we have this ESSER money, this would be a good place for it to be inserted, and it is actually written in our ESSER grant.
That's a good one. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Gillis. At this time, we invite Ms. Jade Jones back to the mic to talk about our proposed school calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Brown, and board members. In your packet, you should have the 2023-2024 proposed calendar. And I'll go over the basic requirements. Students are scheduled for 180 days. Teachers are scheduled for 187 days. Notice I said 187 for teachers because 7 of those days are dedicated to professional development. At this time, we are proposing that classes for students will start August 10th, but I'm going to back up real quickly and share that August 3rd through the 9th will be dedicated to professional development for MPS teachers. And again, August 10th for the first day of MPS students. And then, Madam President and board members, we do have May 23rd, which is pretty much historic for MPS, to be the last day of school for students, May 24th for MPS teachers. And again, that is a PD day. And as always, we will go over this draft calendar with a dedicated group of parents. It will sit out with the public for 30 days. We will gather feedback. We'll have an online form to gather feedback. And then we will come back to the board in January with that feedback in your consideration. for this calendar. And it is important to note that we're pretty much in line with the counties around us. Any questions?
Have the teachers looked at this?
We will sit, when we go over it with the parents, Dr. Keith, then we will send it out to those subgroups.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Additional questions of Ms. Jones? Hearing no further questions, we're going to now look at item M, the 2023 school board meeting schedule. And do be reminded that during this work session, this is for information only. Dr. Brown, if you don't mind, before we get into it, I would like to speak to my fellow board members and remind you that this meeting schedule follows the tradition of our previous meetings where we had decided to meet once a month, but our bylaws speak to twice a month. So we're going to have to make certain that we reconcile that conflict, understanding that we want to always be in line with our bylaws. The intent of our bylaws was that, and we have discussed this in great detail, that we have a work session followed by a meeting where we make a vote. And one of the problems that some of us found in that, if you recall, was that we would get loads and loads of information on on Friday of each meeting month. And then we meet 5 o'clock, get the information, 6:30, 7 o'clock, we make a vote. We are now in a mode where we are receiving weekly information. We are not expecting that information overload. And I'm trying very hard not to get into what one might call debate. So I will sort of pull it down right there and just remind you that if we decide we want to vote for this calendar, then we are looking at amending our bylaws. Dr. Brown.
The board meeting schedule that you have that we would consider is in line with what's been done, I would have guessed, the last 2 to 3 years at least, something like that. We simply just mimic the dates from last year and transpose them onto 2023 coming forward. That's what you have in front of you for consideration at some point when the board decides it's ready to make that decision. Comfortable going forward with any questions you may have.
At this time, are there questions for Dr. Brown? Are there questions for Dr. Brown? Well, Dr. Brown, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fellow board members, thank you very much. We have completed the informational items, and being that there is no further business to be conducted, the work session has concluded and we are adjourned. Okay, at this time, the regular meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Education will come to order. And again, good evening for those who might be new to the session. We still have maintained our quorum of 7 members. At this time, we recognize that the agenda has been sent out earlier. I would like to add one informational item to the agenda, and that is a proposed amendment to the bylaws of the Montgomery County Board of Education to be voted on in our January meeting. We can discuss that, but if there is no objection, with adding the reading eventually of the amendment to the bylaws, we would like, if you don't mind, by unanimous consent to approve this agenda with that one addition. Are there any objections to approving this agenda? Hearing none, we will approve this agenda and at this time move to recognitions. Ms. Jones?
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are going to take a moment to reflect on a few losses we've experienced here in our district. As you all know, a tornado touched down in one of our communities, and we lost a precious scholar along with his mother. And tonight, we invite Mr. Henderson and Mr. Van Diver from Carver Elementary to share a few words about Mr. Sedarius Tell. Mr. Henderson and Mr. Van Diver, will you join me at the podium?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Ms. Jones just mentioned, we had the task last week of dealing with the loss of a student and his mother in a tornado. And so we first, want to keep that family in thoughts and prayers. But I'd also like to thank our team, the MPS team, for being there for us, for being there for the students. At some point in time, man is but a few days on this earth, born of woman, but for a young second grader to lose his life was something that was emotional, it was touching, and we had student support and others to help us with counseling and things like that, just to be prepared to try to console students, talk to them, and be ready to assist in any way, and also reach out to parents as well as the teachers of that group. But I give a lot of credit to Mr. Van Diver, my parent liaison, who is one of the rocks, pillars of the community, and has been at Carver for several years. So he was very instrumental in helping us conduct this tribute to this young man, his mom, and family members who were invited and came along. But I just want to share this, that we all think about a young man, second grader, but as I walked around to the classrooms to break the news to the teachers, in some cases, well, I met with the teachers prior to, but talking to the students, they got into a writing activity, and it said, describe your friend in your words. And there were words used like, he was a friend, he was nice to everyone, he always made sure that someone had someone to play with. And those things, coming and hearing from 8, 9-year-olds, and just look at our society today, that it takes a lifetime to run into people, and people are in your life for a short period of time. But we were blessed to be able to work with he and his family. But those things, again, those traits that an 8-year-old had developed, and a lot of us as grown-ups are still working on those things, is something, to be admired. It says a lot about his character and what his parents instilled in him, and we had the pleasure to try to contribute to that.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I pray all is well with you. I pray that this is a season of joy for you and your family. Thank you, Madam President and Vice President. Thank you, Superintendent Dr. Melvin Brown. Thank you, board members, especially to Ms. Cassandra Brown, District 4, for coming to our rescue last Friday. We really appreciate that. A special thanks to you, Ms. J. Jones, for keeping us within policies and procedures for grief counseling and the added components also. I am Mr. C.J. Van Diver. I am the parent liaison, as Mr. Henderson said, at G.W. Carver Elementary and Arts Magnet School. I want to stick to the task at hand, but first, let me tell you about some of the things that we encounter at Carver Elementary School in our cultural climate. Just to name a few things that we do at Carver. 2 of our employees have moved on to other professions, so we celebrated them too. 15 to 20 of our students have experienced death in their immediate families, and we mourn for them and followed the grief rules and regulations along with our school counselor, Dr. Angela Hughes. 12 staff members whose parents and grandparents transitioned, and we followed the grief rules and regulations for them too, of course with the help of our school counselor, Dr. Hughes, and also Mr. Henderson. A bridal shower was held for one of our employees, and 2 baby showers will be held for 2 of our fellow colleagues in January 2023. We celebrated 25 to 30 colleagues' birthdays and 262 students' birthdays over the intercom. Community services have been rendered in conjunction with T.S. Morris Elementary and Arts Elementary School by our SGA, peer mediation representatives, our student body, faculty, staff, parents, and scholars. Lastly, we mourn the transition of one of our neighborhood grandmothers, who we affectionately call the Candy Lady. And I'm sure everybody's had a Candy Lady in the neighborhood, but we did mourn her death because the students brought that to our attention, and they really loved this lady. Yet we still celebrated the Thanksgiving parade, and our scholars did their holiday arts performances on this week and last week from our 8 components of our arts department, while keeping the Alabama Literacy Act on our agenda daily, keeping our social and emotional program intact daily as well. Now with the task at hand, our beloved scholar Cedarius Tell and his mother Shaquita Broadnax's death really caught us off guard. We did what was expected, and we sprang into action when we heard of this tragic situation. This really caught us by surprise, and we did what was expected of us, Mr. Henderson, Dr. Hughes, our school counselor, and I. We notified Mrs. J. Jones, and the grief counselors, as well as sending out a robocall to our parents and to our guardians. Our faculty, staff, parents, scholars, and community did what we had to do for the grieving families. Our Cedarius' mother, Shaquita Broadnax's mother, was one of my childhood friends, so this really hit home with me. Cedarius was a kind, gentle, spirited young man. At the YMCA Summer Learning Lost Bell Excel program at the Boys and Girls Club in Flatwood, we affectionately call Cedarius Big Six because he was such a tall young man for his age. He was a loving and devoted scholar who had a very humble personality, and we were blessed by his presence. He was a model scholar, and he was very respectful and very well-mannered. It seems that life was so short for him, but we are comforted by the words in Revelations 21:4. And God shall wipe all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Thank you all so much, and we appreciate you all.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Van Diver and Mr. Henderson. I think it is very fitting and appropriate that we speak to the pain and the grief that is being felt in our community right now. And as Mr. Van Diver illustrated for us, you know, we had that tragic loss, but there are other families that are suffering and hurting. And so if I can indulge you for just a moment, adding to what these gentlemen have brought to us, if we can all just together take a moment of silence for those people who are hurting at this time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. It's also important that we share just briefly that we have experienced loss from Bear Elementary as well as Jeff Davidson High School. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. My son was a second grader at Carver Elementary as well, so it's a little touching.
We understand.
We also would like to recognize a third grader from Carver Elementary, Mr. Tarico Moore. He won the Rotary Club essay contest and donated his $50 prize to help with the tornado recovery in Flatwood. His selfless act inspired the Rotary Club to donate an additional $1,500 to the tornado relief effort. So let's give him a round of applause. Now I'll turn it over to you, Madam President.
Absolutely, and thank you for reminding us of that wonderful gesture by a third grader. And the children shall lead us. At this time, we are ready for scheduled public comments. And I have been asked to share the instructions for participation in our board meetings. Requests must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday preceding the meeting date. Requests must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or his designee. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes. The board chairman has full authority to terminate the remarks of any person whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended, when asked to stop speaking by the board chairman, or is otherwise inappropriate. If a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, and or off any MPS property, depending on the level of disruption. At this time, we invite Ms. Jean Charbonneau to the mic to discuss 2023-2024 magnet applications.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, Madam President, newly elected. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Vice President and the members of the board. I have been before this particular board on a number of occasions over the past year, asking about magnet applications. The dates were announced recently, last week, and there was a public forum that was strictly virtual, is my understanding. And I personally follow these things. I watch the Facebook page and things like that. I had another commitment that evening. I had to do something with the military community. And so I was not able to attend that. But I am happy and appreciative that the dates have, in fact, been announced, and it's not the last day of school, which has happened a couple of times in the past. But I am here to ask you about publicizing these dates. When it opens on the 4th of January, please consider putting the link to the application on the homepage and not buried under quick links 4.4 spots from the bottom. That requires you to click on that and then click 3 more times to get to the application. People who don't know the system don't know the system. They don't know how to get there. And there is a lot of discussion in the community with our corporate partners. I have worked extensively with many, many of the Korean companies. They don't know how to do it. Last year at this time, when we came out from under intervention, the board sponsored a number of billboards around the town. You know, new day, new dawn. I would suggest, and we have done this in previous years, that a couple of billboards in some strategic areas that says MPS applications 4th or 31 January, apply now, put the website up. Don't make it hard for people to find out how to choose this option within the range of options that are available for many people. We have traditional schools, we have magnet schools, we have charter schools, we have MPAC, we have lots and lots of programs. This one is often, too often, hidden. The calendar was discussed tonight. We have asked on a number of occasions to have the magnet application period incorporated into the calendar so people know when it is published, when the next application is going to be. And I would ask you to consider that again, too, as we enter another year where it wasn't put on the calendar and is announced the final week of school, opening 3 weeks later. It is really important that the members of this community, permanent and transient, know and understand the options they have in education. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. William Gilliard, think big.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It's really good to see you sitting in that seat.
Thank you.
God bless you. Dr. Brown and other members of the board, God bless all of you. And I say God bless you because I was a tough student in elementary school. I got a little bit better in middle school. Now, most people would not know this unless I told them. The blessing that I had is that I was a preacher's kid. And my dad believed in putting the Board of Education on the seat of my intelligence. And it went straight from the butt to the brain. That's how it works. Well, that's how it worked, past tense. I'm here today to let you know that I am so glad that the Word of God is clear about waiting on the Lord. About 4 years ago, my program was banned from Montgomery Public School. I was, in essence, put in prison. But I served my time. I served every day of it, not being able to function in the school system. But God gave me the wisdom to work around the school system. And so you can go around Montgomery and you can see signs all over Montgomery that says, think big every day in every way. And everywhere I turn, people say they see the signs. I've got good news for you. And the good news is that studies have shown that repetition deepens the impression. What do I mean by that? I mean that if I line all of you all up and say you cannot go home tonight unless you say ZYXWVUT, SRQ, PONM, LKJ, IHG, FED, CBA. Now most of you wouldn't go home tonight simply because you haven't taken the time to do the repetitions that's necessary in order for you to know the alphabets backwards. Now that's how you learn the timetables as well. Thank you. Well, I just want to let you know I have some information for you, and I'm going to give it to you tonight. And all I'm asking to do is be reinstated, and I'm going to meet with with the superintendent so that he can carry the ball rather than me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gilliard.
Madam President, may I say something? Because to Mr. Gilliard, it says may. It doesn't say will not, it says may or may not.
Dr. Key, go ahead.
I just want, what Mr. Gilliard just said. All I know of Mr. Gilliard is he's a very passionate man about our kids. He's also of the older generation, as I am. It is easy to say the wrong word, with the way things change. Somebody's offended at it, the way somebody says something. And I think he is something that, with the shortage of teachers that we have, I'm not understanding why, we tend to blackball people and we push them out when we need people. We need people to help our children. And I think he's come in here, didn't know he was coming today. I did return your phone call, though, by the way, Mr. Gilliard, if you're still here. But I just think, we're into second chances. So I wanted to say that. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate your comments. And I think the reason that we choose not to is because there are times when we make some of our speakers feel wonderful by applauding them, and then others, we don't say anything, we don't comment, and we don't want anyone to feel less important than anybody else. So those are some things that we as a body will discuss on how we move forward.
Okay.
Thanks again. At this time, if you will indulge me again, I have asked our vice chair to read the recommended amendment that I would like to submit, and the reason I have to submit it tonight is so that we can vote in January.
The proposed amendments to the bylaws, Article 5, Section 1, regular meetings and the work session meetings of the Board of Education shall be held, you're going to do a strike through from the 4th to the 3rd Tuesday of each month. Did I say that? I didn't say that
Shall
right.
be the second.
Shall be the second, I'm sorry. Shall be the second Tuesday of each month at 4 p.m. in the administrative building of the Montgomery Public School System, 307 South Decatur Street, unless otherwise ordered by the board. During emergency situations, the board make adjustments as needed, force majeure, an act of God. Rationale: the intent of the bylaws to have a work session 1 week and a regular meeting scheduled 2 weeks later. The purpose was to ensure information was provided in a timely manner during work sessions to best inform the members and the public prior to voting issues. The practice we have accomplished in the intent in the bylaws by combining the work session and regular meetings all in the same day.
Thank you so much. One correction, that would be each month at 5 o'clock, the meeting would be held in the administrative building of the Montgomery Public School System. But thank you, Vice Chair Brown. At this time, the superintendent will make recommendations regarding our agenda, our consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to recommend that the board approve the consent agenda as provided.
You have heard the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent.
Is there a second?
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there any discussion?
I would have liked to have seen, I know I'll be voting, there's the majority of those I'm all for. But there are a few that I wanted to see the data on, or at least be rediscussed as to how long the contract was. And I would have liked to have voted on that separately. And possibly even talked about F a little bit more.
Is there,
So I just, I think there were only 2 on there that I would have probably wanted to table and talk about. The rest of them I like, so I hate to say no because I didn't agree with, I didn't necessarily agree with C and F. That's the only 2 that I saw a problem
So
with.
you would like
Is
us
there
to
more
redo,
discussion?
would you like us to redo the motion?
is there a second, I'm sorry, is there other discussion?
I want to table C and F.
Okay. Do we want to table these items?
I think I would like to see us take a vote on it. Take the vote on it, but let's just pull the ones. Can we cancel the motion that's on the floor?
Well, the person who made the motion,
Can I,
So that we can pull the 2
Do
and
you
vote on them
want to
separately.
rescind your motion? The motion is on the floor. It has been seconded.
If the,
We are discussing, you can still discuss.
Do you have any discussion?
I do. And I understand the implications of C and the concern of C, and it should have been handled. My concern is, have we put the right people in place to make a decision that these children have something? If we pull this, my understanding is it leaves them with nothing.
exactly.
And they've used this. They know how to use it. If there's problem with it, we have a contract. And if they don't do what they say they're going to do, we have the opportunity to pull that contract. Am I wrong on that?
I think you have understood exactly what.
What's going on?
Mr. Mitchell, I believe, and Dr. Brown were trying to explain.
Okay.
Yes,
And this is just for a year, right?
Yes.
yes.
And we're gonna watch
I
it.
want to see some data though.
And will we see it before next meeting, the data? Will we see it before the next meeting, like at least a week, Okay.
Bearing in mind that data will be based upon the past
History.
years, not this current year.
I'll take last year.
Okay, so, at this time, what I think I'm hearing, and the maker of the motion has not said this, but I'm going to ask the maker of the motion, would you have any objection to us allowing one of our colleagues to make a motion to separate out items from the consent agenda?
If I'm understanding correctly, I thought that the information now is clear and Dr. Keith and Mrs. Cloud would accept the data from Bernard Mitchell. Is that not true?
Right.
Is that what we're hearing?
Right, so we're gonna
Okay,
get
so-
it, but it's still, I'm fine for a year, I just think I want the data.
Okay.
Sounds
So,
good.
I mean,
Okay.
And
The
as
motion
far as,
stands.
and
Okay,
as
so-
far as Elf is concerned, Hanover, I want to see a little bit more than what's gonna.
What would you like to see, Ms. Cloud?
Pardon?
What would you like to see?
I want to see exactly what their intentions are and how they're gonna work with the central office, because the one that leads the strategic plan is the one that's actually boots on the ground, and you're the lead on that. I don't want them to take the lead, I want you to have the lead.
Unfortunately, when you do strategic planning in a large organization, one person does not lead that discussion. One person is actually part of that discussion.
I understand that. But-
Okay.
But you're still,
And I will still be point on what takes place with that particular organization.
I don't want them to take it out of your lap.
Ms. Cloud, as a superintendent, I understand that all those things are under my auspices. I accept that, and I move forward with that, and I have experience in doing that. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we are ready to take the vote. You have heard the recommendation. We have a motion and a second. We're ready to vote. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda items A through J, let it be known by raising your hand. All those opposed? We have approved the consent agenda. Thank you. Consider for approval the personnel report, certified personnel.
Madam President, I'd like to recommend that the board approve the personnel report, certified personnel.
You have heard the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for certified personnel.
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for personnel report, certified personnel. We're ready for the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. We will record that there's a unanimous vote. Personnel report, classified personnel.
Madam President, I'd like to recommend that the board approve the personnel report, classified personnel.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation.
I move for the approval of the personnel report, classified personnel.
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the personnel report, classified personnel. At this time, all those in favor, raise your hand. We can record a unanimous vote. At this time, I see no other items. It's time for any announcements. We have completed all of our action items. We do have on our agendas that the next work session is January 10, 2023 at 5 o'clock here at Central Office, immediately followed by our regular meeting. Are there other announcements? Hearing none, and there being no further business to be conducted, this meeting is adjourned.